Hi everybody. I'm going live here. I'm gonna talk to Stacey Vanthuyne. Hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She's a self-image and relationship coach. So I'm very excited to be talking to her. She's gonna join us now.
Hi.
You did
Hi.
it. Hey, good
There you
morning.
are.
Good morning for
Hi.
me. Good afternoon for you, right?
Right. Yeah. You calling from Canada, right?
I am. So that's why I have like
Wow.
my turtleneck done right up. It's a little snowy morning today.
Oh,
How about you?
okay. It's not no snow anymore, but yeah, cold still. So
Yeah,
what
because where exactly are you?
in Denmark?
Yeah, in Denmark. Okay. And no
Yeah,
snow.
yeah. No,
Good
we
morning,
didn't.
Keith. I see my
Hello.
friend Keith has joined.
Oh, thank you so much for joining.
Embarrassing. Yeah. So it's great to chat with you again. We talked way back in September when you came in on my Around the World, and yeah, you called in from
Yeah,
Denmark.
yeah.
And I am excited to talk to you today. So thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be talking to you also. Last time I was in the hot seat, now it's your turn.
I know. Okay, fire away.
Yeah, well, you are a self-image and relationship coach, so I would love to hear more about especially the self-image thing about it. So tell us just basically what is self-image?
Sure. Your self image is your identity. You know, it's the beliefs you have about yourself. And why that's so powerful is that whether, you know, it's back to that Winston Churchill quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So we will
Mm,
never outperform that which we think we can do. And that ties back to that self image we have. And it's important to realize that we have two self images. We have the image that we show outwardly that you can see in the mirror, but the
mm-hmm,
one that really impacts our results is that inner voice, that one that's inside. So when you're by yourself with your thoughts, are your thoughts telling you, you know, you're not worthy, you can't do this,
mm,
that's impossible? Because if it is, then chances are that's when we give up on those big dreams or those hopes and
mm,
desires and passions that we have because we think we can't. So
mm,
where people is helping them to level up their self-image. Think of your self-image almost like a thermostat. It sets
mm.
the room temperature. And
Yeah.
you know, the door may open and it may get a little bit cooler in the place. So we may have dips in our results, but ultimately, once we close the door, we get back to that normal state and we stay there. Same's true. You might listen to this podcast, or this isn't a podcast, but our live, or read a book or watch
Mm,
something and get motivated for a while, and it turns up the heat for a little bit. So you actually perform better for a while. But
mm,
ultimately, at the end, if you're not consistently working on your self image, you'll still come back to that. So if you're used to making $100,000
mm.
a year, chances are, even if you lose your job, you find a job that makes you $100,000 a year. But if you
Oh,
want to really make a big difference, it's the self image where we need to start and identify.
wow, wow,
Kind of went on
wow.
a tangent everywhere there, but where do you want to go
Awesome.
from there?
That's
Hey,
great. Yeah.
Andy.
Hey, hey, everybody. Can we do anything to improve our self-image and kind of raise that thermostat?
Yeah, absolutely, we
Yeah.
can. Yes, like, and
Great.
that's the most exciting thing. It's like we don't have to stay set at that, right? I mean, you
No.
see this all the time. This is where somebody may have a really poor self-image, like as far as financially wise, and they win $1 million. Lots of those
Mm-hmm.
people, they go right back broke, right? Because they don't
Yeah.
see themselves in that financial arena. Same whereas someone who's used to making millions of dollars, they can become bankrupt. They get it back. Their self-image is set there. So to your question,
Mm-hmm.
how do you reset it? Well, first of all,
Yeah.
you just become really honest with yourself of where you're at. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
curious to know where your self-image is set, just look at your results. Our results are
Mm-hmm.
a reflection of how we feel on the inside. So
Mm-hmm.
if things are coming into our lives that we don't like, then really we have to recognize that we're the creators of that. So what is it that we're thinking or perceiving about ourselves that's allowing those things to come in? And can we look at them differently? So to improve your self-image, you start thinking of what it is that you do want. Right? How, like, what are the things, how do you want to walk? How do you want to talk? How much money do you want to earn? What do you want your relationships to look like? You know, who are some people that you admire that have characteristics within themselves that you would want? And you start to like see yourself from that place. And in doing so, you identify those ones that don't serve you anymore. And you start disassociating yourself with that identity. So some people say, oh, it's like, sounds like you're faking it till you make it. No, you're not faking it. You are. Because just because it hasn't shown up in our physical reality doesn't mean that it's not here. The last place it shows up is in our physical reality, right? So to really improve your self-image, you identify what it is that you do want. How do you want to become? And you start to write that out. And you start to envision and embody those characteristics now. And then you, as through constant spaced repetition, that self-image lives in our subconscious mind. Through that constant spaced repetition, you slowly start to be, act, you know, feel like that woman, like that man. And before you know it, you are resetting that thermostat a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And then we come to realize that there's no limits on that thermostat. You can go as hot as you want. And the more that you want to achieve, the higher you want to get. So it's just like this allowance of continual expansion and growth.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. So we start like acting as if we are that person that we want to become, right? So it's kind of in the beginning it can feel like acting, right? Or yeah. But then soon it'll
go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Then soon it'll become reality, and then it won't be acting anymore, right?
Right. You act until you become. You know, there's a really great book, right? Oh shoot, it's slipping my mind right now. Well, the one it really talks to is Maxwell Maltz. So he was a plastic surgeon in the 1950s, 60s.
Oh, yeah.
And this
I read that.
It's a great book, right?
Yeah.
And this is where this concept of this dual self-image came in, because he would fix somebody's nose or something that they had this disfigurement on them. And one person, once they got this operation done and they liked what they saw in the mirror, would soar. And another person would have that same like fix, but they didn't soar. They stayed low. Why? Because it was more than just their outside that was impacting how they felt about themselves. So to your point, I love what you're saying, is that it really is like looking in the mirror and getting past the physical to go with into your heart, to raise up like your feeling of worthiness, your belief. And until we believe that we are worth it, till we believe that we can, then those things that we really want won't happen in our lives. And then we'll just, you know, I love the quote by Carl Jung. He says, until we make our unconscious conscious, it will continue to rule our world and we'll continue to call it fate. So we'll just say, oh shit, that's not meant for me. That happens only to the lucky ones. Well, if you believe that, then that will happen. But it doesn't have to believe that. You have a choice in what we believe. And so this is where I just get super passionate working with individuals, for us to realize that our past or our current circumstance doesn't dictate our future unless we let it. Good morning, Serena. Good morning. I'm excited to see so many people in the morning. I forget how much fun lives are.
Well, thank you for joining, everybody. What is the fastest way you can kind of it's kind of raising your standard, right? Or is there, what can you do to do it the fastest if you want to take is there a shortcut?
Well, sure. I mean, first it's like become aware, right? I don't know if there's any type of fast cuts. I mean, the younger you can become aware of this, the less uncovering you can do. I was just talking to you earlier about some of my clients and these younger people that have becoming aware of this. It's just like my heart is just open because there's so many less layers to uncover. But when we, you know, for me, I was like in my 40s when I finally like became more aware of the power of thought and the power of self-image that I had lots of unlayering to do. Right now, I think it's really trendy to just be your authentic self. Just be your authentic self. Well, if I knew who she was, I would be, right? Like, this is who I think she is today. But then you start to realize, well, no, I act this way because I think that gets me ahead in this arena. And I act this way because I think that that's what they want to hear. And it's consistently trying to appease people outside of me versus being true to the inside. And so as far as shortcuts, I mean, there really isn't. But constant space, like repetition, that you need to just stay persistent in your pursuit of your passion. And that's why you want like your crave, as I've been calling it in my upcoming course, to be so powerful that that inspires you to consistently make the changes, to stay on, to when those negative thoughts come in or that old self-image that no longer serves you come in, you identify it and say, no, not today. Not today. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and we continue to just shorten that refractory period so that we don't sit and take days of feeling crappy on ourselves or shitting on ourselves.
Yeah, wow, I love it.
Is that helpful?
Sorry?
Is that helpful? Or does anybody have comments? Or has anybody tried to change
please,
self-image in the past?
Anybody? Yeah, that'll be great.
I think the shortcut is not just thinking about it, is actually doing the work. Like write out that self-image. Allow yourself 2 or 3 times in your day to get quiet, to close your eyes, to see yourself. I mean, it really is tapping into our mental faculties, imagining it, seeing it from a different perception at times, picking up on those intuitive nudges, trusting yourselves, making a promise to yourself, keeping it. All of those things, your subconscious mind never turns off. So when we make a promise to ourselves and we don't follow through, that's telling our subconscious mind not to trust ourselves. That's telling our subconscious mind that we don't believe we're worthy of it. And so when we go to make another promise to ourselves, it says, you didn't even wake up the other morning to go to the gym. Why do you think you could do this?
I love that.
Yeah, staying consistent, right?
Yeah.
Morning, Ray.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we don't follow through on the promises that we make to ourselves. And an easy example is like you said, exercise. I mean, we may tell ourselves that from the 1st of January, we're gonna exercise, we're gonna run 10 miles, well, maybe not 10 miles, 10 kilometers or an hour every day. And that's maybe a little bit too much to start out with. And therefore we don't do it. And then we're breaking the promise to ourselves. So I think that's when it's great to just start small, start with baby steps, start by taking a walk and then do it. And then,
it's such a good point. It's such a good point. It's the same with your self-image, right? Like, let's say when you start to write down who it is you want to be, like, what is it that you think you need to become to achieve what you want? And then you start writing who you presently are. If you've identified a few things that you don't want anymore, that no longer serve you, don't try to change them all at once. It really is, like you said, that progress over perfection, that like it takes time, and set yourself up for success. So identify one that really no longer serves you. Maybe it is that I'm going to start keeping promises to myself. I am somebody, I'm so happy, grateful now that I keep the promises I make to myself. Well, make those promises ones that you want and that you stay true, and then do that. And then do that and so that it adopts a new belief in you, a new habit, a new way of thinking. And then once you have that, you go to the next one. My mentor, Bob Proctor, would say, never try to change more than 2 paradigms, 2 habitual ways of thinking at a time. You change one, work to the next. And with that, you build that momentum because you're like, I did it. I can do that. That was easy, And people say, is change hard? Sure, if you think it is. But so's freaking living a life that you don't love. So's waking up every day not feeling inspired. So's wanting to do something and then doubting yourself and never doing it, you know? And
Yeah.
this is where, you know, you also reminded me of saying something of like, it's not enough just to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, back to
Exactly.
that exercise thing. I mean, we want to, maybe a goal was to improve our physical health. And we know that we shouldn't eat that piece of cake if that's it. Maybe not every day. I mean, have your cheat day. But you still do. Why?
Yeah.
Because knowing is not enough. And your self-image in this example has you eating the cake because that's what you know.
Oh,
So you
okay.
have to identify, especially when it comes to like releasing weight, you have to see yourself now, not just as somebody that wakes up and goes to the gym, but, you know, incorporates a healthy attitude, is able to run and walk and do the things that they want, can fit into places that they weren't able to do it. It's not just about the weight, it's the self-image that comes with that. So again,
Yeah.
that's where you'll see people release the weight, but then gain it back. Well, they've never leveled up their self-image to be somebody that is achieving what it is that they want. That self-image is so critical.
Well, how, when we talk about weight loss, how, what can you do there? Is it also about writing it down, or what practical things can you do? And meditation, you said also. Yeah.
You and I love meditation. I think, again, why meditation is so powerful is because when you get into that theta brainwave state, that analytical mind starts to go away, that one that tells you can't, right? And your subconscious mind then is purely open. And that's where, with Dr. Joe's words, you can fire and rewire new neurological pathways. Or from a theology standpoint, you can start to implant new beliefs. It's like, I like to think of my subconscious mind as a garden. And you got to, like, you take care of your garden and you pull out the weeds to make space for new things to grow. But if you just plant the seed but never water it, it won't grow. So when we meditate, then we're in that theta state that we can start to tap into reprogramming a little bit quicker. Maybe that's one of the additional ways that you can fast track, is not just the writing, but I mean, do them all, right? The writing, the affirmations, the mirror work, the visualization. There's a reason this works, but it is like we've heard before, the equation for change is simple. What is the challenging part is staying consistent to it, because it's adopting a new behavior and choosing to make different choices consistently. And that's really where why I think it's so important that they have coaches like yourself or me to hold us accountable. And then also to open up, these blind spots. And because some of this stuff is just normal because we've done it for so long. So we don't even believe it's a different way of doing it.
Yeah, we don't even think about it. I mean, I think we're getting in, it has a lot to do with habits also, right?
Yeah, it's all habits. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where it goes. So in our subconscious mind is our paradigms, and that's another word that's being tossed around a lot. But if you're not sure what that means, what a paradigm is, just a habit. It's just a consistent way of thinking and doing. But it's those ways of thinking and doing that ultimately control the behaviors. And this is where when we think knowing is in our conscious mind, although our mind is not a top and bottom. I always see my head as like the top part is my conscious, so I would do that. But it's the stick person, right? But our conscious mind, we can have a thought. We can want to lose weight. We can know that we're worthy. But unless that is ingrained in our subconscious mind through visualization, through this constant space repetition, or brought up to us that we were told throughout our whole lives that we were worthy, then we don't believe it. And it's not the thoughts, it's not the conscious mind that moves our body into action. It's actually the subconscious mind. And so this is where, again, visualization is a powerful tool, because you can start to imprint that new belief, that new image of yourself into your subconscious mind quicker, and then we respond. So I love what you said before too. You just wake up one day and you are like, you're like, holy shit, Steve Jobs said, you can't join the dots forward, but you look back one day and you're just like, I did that. Wow. If you look back, anyone listening, I mean, even just look back to your own results that you've got to date. The stuff that you truly believe that you could do, that you dreamt of, that was like always on your mind, and you believe you're worthy of, you accomplished.
Yes.
The challenge is we just often stop thinking and dreaming of more, and we allow our present results to determine whether or not we can do more.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, stop that, right? Stop that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. And back to the brainwave thing, what I do actually is I wrote a long list of affirmations, and because it takes so long both to read it and also to write it, I spoke it into, or I recorded it on an app, and then when I go to sleep, because you know, when you go to sleep, our brain waves go down. I forgot what it's called, what kind of brain wave it goes down, but when you're going to sleep and also when you're first waking up, there's kind of a easier, or it goes straight into your subconscious mind.
Right? Like, and I'm curious to get your thoughts about this, but meditation's a practice. And you know, the fact that you're even becoming aware of your thoughts to say, no, I don't want you right now. Meditation. Because it's all about becoming more aware of what we think, why we think, and why we do what we do. And so eventually through practice, you can see those thoughts and not get attached to them. But you'll always have these thoughts coming in your brain, and you just choose to see them as clouds or something and go by, or, you know, I'm not sure which one of the tips that you use for yourself for meditation.
Well, for me, it is, I actually try to think of nothing, which is very difficult. But for what I've learned is the practice is really, because you will always start to think of things. You will have things coming into your mind. But the practice is really to become aware of it and to notice that you're actually starting to think about things and then turning it off again.
That's right.
It's constant, because it will constantly come new thoughts, and then you turn them off. And that's the whole practice from what I've learned.
I agree. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
It's just like being able to come back and not letting that take you out. You know, again,
but it's a muscle.
It's a muscle. Exactly. It's like training a wild stallion. You're going to like, you sit, and as a horse lover that you are, you're like, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting because I've moved from mindset. I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, everything comes down to self-image. And why I also say relationship coach is because it comes down to your self-image and the relationship you have with you. And until you recognize your brilliance, until you love you for you, we won't get those relationships we desire, because we attract who we are. And so with relationships, you know, when I'm working with my clients, it's about identifying that it's not that other person. Although they may not be treating you well, we're allowing that. And so we allow who we think we are.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I agree.
If we level that up, then we would know that this relationship's no longer serving me. I'm not, you know, and I think that was really my experience, was when I was in married and I didn't love my relationship. I didn't leave, right? I looked for external validation for someone to say, oh yeah, you can go. And I ended up having an affair. And yet if somebody would have told me at the time that I lacked self-confidence or that I lacked self-love, I would have told them they're wrong, truthfully. But now I realize that was my ego talking, and that I didn't lack self-confidence or self-love for the life I was living, but I didn't love that. I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to be in a new place. And so I didn't act like that person. I acted like how I knew. So there was a gap in myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think that some people, we think that that means that we've done wrong. It's not. It just is. So it's just becoming aware and then saying, well, do you want to stay that way? Or do you want to be that goddess that you truly are, because we know inside, we hear it. We just try to silence her or him. And it's like, let her out. So then when someone can say, be your authentic self, you know who that is. And you say, I am. I am. I am me.
Yeah, but also, like you said, if you have no self-confidence, then you don't know who you are, and you let people treat you bad. Actually, I have been through that. I had a bad relationship, and I was treated bad, and I didn't do. I let it happen because I didn't feel like I was worth any better. I had very low self-confidence. So I let people treat me bad for 18 years.
Yeah. But now look at you now.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just it, right? Like we fall trapped for that. And I think that that's why it happens with a lot of people. They get out of one shitty relationship and they're so proud of themselves for getting out of that relationship when you should be. So, but then they get right back into another one because that's their self-image. That's where it's set. Is that's what they know. So all of a sudden, you know, they may be in a new relationship, but probably a lot of those same characteristics and qualities come out just different body, because we still attract that, because deep in their soul, that's where our worth is. So it really is, you nailed it. It's about understanding your worth and that you are worthy because you are, period.
Well, for me, it was something that I kind of was brought up with because of my father. My father was exactly like my ex-husband. So I was used to being treated that way, and found one that could continue to treat me that way. So, yeah.
This is, and thank you for sharing that. And this is a perfect kind of way to end, but this is why self-image is so important, because we've been conditioned with that self-image by the people around us and how we've in the past, and those beliefs that were put into our subconscious mind through constant-spaced repetition when we were a child. And a lot of those then we just accept as normal because we don't know any different. It's not a fault issue. It just is. But once we become aware of it, then it's our responsibility to do different. Like, I mean, we were born for greatness. At the center of us are souls. We're perfect. And so for us to then find a way of expressing that through life and then just growing in it. And I think that's where life becomes really fun and fulfilling. Listen, I think that that's part of within spirit and universe and God and those things. But I believe that, you know, spirit, and whether we go to science or theology, energy is omnipresent. It's everywhere. Everywhere means it's outside of me and within me. And so this is where, like, at the essence of us is perfection. And so will you allow that spirit to grow and expand? And in order to do that, we're going to have to break down some of those self-images, those identity that no longer serves us, so that that can shine through. But all right, wrap us up, Regitze.
Well, thank you so much. It was really, we got far around with the self-image and habits and weight loss and but it all comes down to mindset, right? A lot of things, I think.
It's all on what you believe in yourself. I mean, 100%. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And if you want something, then just start thinking more of why you can than why you can't. And what and who you need to do and act and be to be that. And then become. It's a choice that you can make.
Start writing affirmations and read them every day and live your affirmations, like you said. Be who you want to be.
I think so.
Be who you want to become, rather. Well, thank you so much. It was really nice and fun and exciting, and good. We learned a lot from you again. So we'll talk another day, and have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for creating this space. Have a wonderful day too. Much love, everybody, for joining us live or on replay. We'll talk to you
Yeah,
soon.
thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.